Hey guys, today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Fred. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, MP3 player. That's audibletrial.com/Fred. But for now, enjoy the show. Hey guys, welcome to the Creative Magic Unchained. I am Unchained. I'm so glad to have you here. Welcome. Do you aspire to a creative life? Are you tired of working 9 to 5? Are you asking yourself what is the point of it all? Or do you want to take your creativity to the next level? This is the Creative Magic Unchained podcast. It's about unleashing your creativity. We talk to experts. We step into the unknown. It is an inspirational podcast. It's a magical podcast. It's an intuitive podcast. As we chat with enigmatic, charismatic artists from around the world. That's right. We speak with musicians, magicians. We speak with singers, radio hosts, business people, photographers, and everything in between. I am Frédéric Baye. I am your host. I am a businessman. I'm an artist. I'm a writer. I'm a friend. I'm a trainer. I'm a partner. I'm an animal lover. This podcast is free every time you download it on iTunes or Stitcher. Please go over there, subscribe. It is listener supported. So you know, guys, tell a friend, because these kinds of shows can really help them. Like if you know a friend that these kinds of subject could really inspire, tell a friend and leave a 5-star review if you want. Leave a review. If not 5-star, leave a review. It really helps brother out. And for more podcast free gifts, Q&A articles, subscribe at frederickbaye.com. That's frederickbaye.com. On Twitter at ByFred. On Facebook, simply type in my name, Frederick Baye, and check out the YouTube channel, The Creative Magic, for previous episodes. Alrighty, guys. Today, we have a photographer. We have a multifaceted individual, a creative individual. And you know what? Today, that interview, you're going to come out of this higher. You're going to come out of this vibrating with inspiration. Your vibrational frequency, if you know what I mean, your energy, your creative powers are going to be heightened, because we're going to talk with Don Giannatti, and he has a unique perspective on the crazy business of art. And who is Don Giannatti? Well, Don Giannatti, he's a photographer, he's a designer, he's a creative director. He has been on set at 3:30 a.m. waiting for the sun to come up for a corporate shoot in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico. And he has led teams to successful first-round funding on the streets of San Jose. He has designed websites for people who had no money but needed something desperately. And he has built websites for huge companies for whom money was no object. He has created marketing and visual media strategies for famous people and turned around and created similar for people who want to stay out of the limelight totally. My God, this I'm telling you, he's an amazing person. He has worked from a converted bedroom office and has worked from a huge glass and steel buildings. From a small business that developed websites, he grew his business to the third largest ad agency in Arizona in less than 5 years. This guy is amazing. And he's going to talk to us. Like I said earlier, we're going to get to the interview right now in actually 5 seconds, because I want you to be inspired right now. So let's get to the conversation right after this. Quick thanks to RadioGuestList.com, where you can find people to interview for free. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your support. And for advertisement offers, you can reach me at info@frederickbaye.com. That's info@frederickbaye.com, and use the subject advertising. All right, cool. Hello, hello. So we are here. This is Frédéric Bay, and you're listening to the Creative Magic Unchained. We are here with Don Giannatti. He's a photographer, a designer, and a creative director. How are you today, Don?
I'm very good. How are you, Frederick?
I am fabulous.
New year, man.
Yeah, new year, and we're starting off strong.
Yes.
I hope you are. Are you?
I definitely am. I spent the couple of weeks there at Christmas just recharging the batteries and writing about things I'm doing different this year. So it's going to be big.
Yeah. All right. So let's start off for our listeners out there. Who give us an idea of your background?
Well, I began I'm a musician and a composer, and I began as a photographer, walking around the streets during the day while the band would be back at the hotel, and I started taking pictures, and I really, really enjoyed it. Moved into, I'm going to make a long story short because we only have so much time, but I moved into a nice little art direction position by lying my butt off.
Really?
Yes. They asked me if I could do it, and I said yes. And then I went home and looked up what the hell they were talking about. And I was able to bluff my way through a good year and a half until I actually knew what I was doing. And that's been always a lot of fun. But I always look back at photography as being, those were the guys that were having all the fun. We were the art directors and creative directors and showing up at the studio, but their studios were full of models and props and lights and all the fun stuff. So I left that agency and became a photographer. I've been self-employed most of my life, or been the owner of a business most of my life. So never have done the 9-to-5 thing other than when I owned my own ad agency. So
wow. So you never owned a job. You never had a job.
And other than the couple of years being an art director, and then of course putting myself through school, I worked in a warehouse doing that. But no, I never had a cubicle. I know. I miss it.
Like you bastard. Anyway, all right, cool. So did you grow up in a household of creative people or self-employed people, maybe?
I didn't used to think so. Oh no, they were very against me being self-employed. I mean, when I quit the warehouse job to go out and travel with the band, my mom was like, "But this is such a good job," and I'm looking at her, "Mom, it's a warehouse." But no, I don't think they were terribly creative. But now, looking back, I know that my dad was a real do-it-yourselfer. So he was creative in that way, but no real arts or anything like that in my family.
But so how the interest in art came to you? How the fascination with art came to you, and how did you, did you could convince your parents that, hey, I really want to take that route?
No, they were very supportive in a way that I would say would be, they didn't really care what I did as long as I did it well and was happy. Okay. They were not the kind of parents to say, "Oh no, we want you to be a doctor or an engineer or something like that." They, I got my degree in music, theory and composition, and they were very, very supportive with that.
So your passion is really music. Like,
it was. It still is to a great extent. Yes, I'm still involved in music, and I'm actually writing a piece of music right now. So yeah, I've stuck with that. My drums have always been a part of our house. No matter where we are, there's a drum set. I even had a drum set in my studio. So, always done that. But it's, I'm just a, without sounding braggadocio, and I don't mean it to sound braggadocio, I'm just a creative person. I just am constantly creating something, whether I'm writing or photographing or doing music or whatever. It's just a need I have to put something out there in the world.
I think a lot of people have that need. So you're a musician, you're a photographer. So right now, talk about your craft right now. What are you doing now?
The way I look at my life right now is I'm moving from a commercial aspect in my life, the commercial photography, to more of an artistic aspect in my life. I'm going to create more works of art rather than shooting commercially.
See, that's interesting. That's interesting. What is the difference?
Well,
commercialing and art, like
commercially, I'm responding. Art director calls me and I fly to Oklahoma and I photograph oil wells for 2 days. Or someone calls and I go and do a headshot or something. So I'm always responding. And the work that you do when you're doing that isn't always the kind of work that you want to show people. I mean, I could sit and show you my oil rig shots and you'd be asleep in about 12 seconds. But they work for my client. They need specific things shot, and we do that. But in art, I'm finding that I want to go and do the stories and the images that I want to do, and then I'll find a market for them afterwards. Not stock, but more of somebody enjoying the work for what it is. I'll be going to Flagstaff, Fairbanks. I'll be going to Fairbanks, Alaska in August. It's a 40-day trip up and back by motorcycle. And that's going to develop into a book and a whole series of things. So lots of that type of work in my future.
See, I think one of the biggest struggles creatives have and this show is really about regular people who want to be creative and also, just the creative people. We're all creative, in my opinion, even if you have a 9 to 5 job.
I agree.
But there seems to be this confusion between, am I doing my art for money or for, am I selling my soul kind of, to do the art that other people do? You know what I mean? Like,
I always stress, Frederick, that the Sistine Chapel painted by Michelangelo was a commercial art project.
Really? He was told to do that?
He had to submit sketches to the Pope, who approved the sketches, and then they hired him to paint that.
Wow.
That was commercial work. Leonardo da Vinci, most of his art was produced on commission.
Really?
So
wow,
the idea of the self-supporting standalone artiste who starves in a little studio somewhere painting or photographing, that's really early 19th century. Before that, the artist did not have the luxury of just creating something. Degas, all the paintings of the ballet, those were commissions. So we need to move away from the thought that working commercially and getting money is somehow bastardizing our art. That's a relatively new phenomena, and it's not particularly healthy either, because I think it makes people think if I create crap nobody likes, I can call it art. Now, if nobody likes it, I don't know what you want to call it, but you might not want to call it art.
I remember I was with a writing group, I think it was 2-3 years ago. I came in and there was, back then I had the Twilight book in my hand. Now I'm not like, and I read it because I wanted to know what was the buzz because, it was so popular and all that stuff. So, and I remember a person telling me there, man, you're selling your soul. Like she didn't even know me, but she just saw me with the Twilight book in my hand. And she told me, no, and I told her, I said, I just want to know, what's the buzz? Well, why is it so popular? I want to know why, Anyway, that's just,
yes. The interesting thing is the young lady who wrote that is fabulously wealthy.
Yeah, I know.
Now she could probably write or paint anything she wants. Yep. So what's the harm in that? Believe me, I have daughters, so I'm real familiar with the Twilight saga. Yeah, it's just special, isn't it? Anyway, the truth of the matter is, I'd love to write something that made me $50 million. I don't know if it's crap. It's crap. That's fine. I'm gonna take the $50 million and do good stuff with it.
But it's crap to whom? It's crap to you, or is it crap to the people? Because if you're gonna make $50 million, you're doing something good.
Yes,
you're doing something right.
One time, Simon Cowell was asked about American Idol, and he said the question was, "Does America ever get it wrong?" And he said, no, they can't. By the very nature of it, they can't. If America votes this person as the winner, that's the winner. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's the way I look at it. Yes, it would be crap to me in a way. I mean, it's not my favorite kind of writing. But at the same time, if thousands and millions of people like it, what's wrong with that? Why have we artists, like the person that you met, why have we decided that somehow art can't be popular, that it has to be only for elitists? You know, I don't think so. I think art can be for everybody.
I'm a big fan of Julia Cameron. Do you know Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way? And the one rule she says is if you want to make great art, you have to be willing to do bad art. You know, you have to be willing to really suck. Because when we start something, we always suck, even though sometimes we think that what I'm doing is good, but the reality of it is it's not, it's not really good. But
if you don't suck, you're not trying hard enough.
That's it. Yeah. It's like building a business. What is as creatives, as artists, we often want to transmit a message with our work. What is your message?
Yeah. I've thought about that often, long and hard. For years, commercially, I shot women. Women were my subject matter. Fashion, beauty.
Well, I'm not going to ask you why.
Well, it was a
No. You can love a woman's beauty.
I had to do it, Frederick. And
sorry.
Thank God I got to do it. But but now I've turned my camera to other things, including what I call real people. And I think with my portraiture, what I'm trying to put out there is the commonality of people. There's so many at this point in the world, the time of the world, there are so many people trying to divide us.
You mean right now in this?
Right now, yeah. By race, class, how much money you make, what kind of music you listen to, everything's got a box, and you have to fit in that little box somehow. And I'm trying to, maybe in my own way, say, well, instead of looking at how different we are, maybe we should really kind of look at how similar we are, because we're far more similar than we are different, I've found.
Yeah, absolutely. It is dividing us, but at the same time, I feel that it is also, there's something that is also uniting us, because now with internet, I go to the Caribbean, I go to Africa, I go to different places, and we're all like, because of internet now, the boundaries have all been shattered.
Exactly. And I think that it's something in the human nature, something that we haven't outgrown yet as a species, that fears that. So while people like you and I love this, there's also a tendency to say, yeah, but where's my clan? Yeah. Where's my tribe? Yeah. And so we start creating tribes out of things that shouldn't really be tribes. Yeah. And forcing people to, go into little boxes and stuff just so that we can understand. The human mind is really interesting, the way it takes the information of the world and then classifies it in our brain. Mm-hmm. We have, this amazing ability to put things in our brain and then try to fit them and make them understandable to all the other things that we have in our brain already. Mm-hmm. So we fit and mold and push and squeeze and force things into genres and blocks.
Yeah. Once again, this is Frederick Baye, and you are listening to Creative Magic Unchained. We are here with Don Giannatti. He's a photographer, a designer, a creative director, also a musician and a composer. Tell me, are you spiritual?
I am spiritual. I am not religious.
I love that. This is a new answer, to be honest. I love, but go ahead, explain to us what it means.
I find that formal religions, every formal religion, becomes more like what we were just talking about, more tribal, more like my group. We've got a stronger team than your team. I just have never, even when I was a small child, never really bought into like, well, my team is better than your team, or somehow I can pray to God and he'll make my football team win. It's like, no, that's not. When you look around at the world, if there's a God, he's way superior to really caring about whether somebody's football team wins, or how we live our lives, etc. So I think the closest thing, you're gonna love this. The closest thing that I've found to the way I believe would be a mixture of Buddhism and the Force.
Buddhism and the Force.
Yep.
Okay, I get Buddhism. What is the Force?
The Force, Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the common thread that runs through so much of life.
Yeah. I always ask creative people that question because I think when you're a creative person, which everybody is, you're automatically spiritual in a way. For me, creativity is a spiritual practice. Is that the same for you?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, it becomes my creativity is almost I would say my religion.
Yeah.
And it's treated that way. I treat it that way, very much respectful, very aware of the tenets of creativity. And I would say that creativity would be considered my religion, and in a formal religion sort of way. But I'm very spiritual in that I really feel that I feel what goes around comes around. I feel that you can put out energy that other people can pick up on, and I think that we can help ourselves by creating great energies in our mind. Now, I'm not a new age woo-woo person at all, but I do believe that the more we fill our mind with good stuff, the more good stuff comes out of our brain.
Yeah.
So,
what is your creative process?
Wait till the last minute. Yeah. I do a lot of thinking up front. Lots and lots of stuff going on in my head up front.
Okay, what do you mean you're doing a lot of thinking?
Like getting a commission from a client on a photograph or a design job. Let's take a design job. I will think about it. Do all my research that I do for my business, on competing sites and all of those things. But I'll think about it a lot longer than most of the other designers that have worked for me before I get my sketch pad out. And then I'll sketch it. And then I will take those sketches and convert them to comps and go from there. But where a lot of designer friends that I have, they'll start sketching immediately. I don't. I rumble it around in my head for quite a while before I get the sketchbook out. Now, photographically, it's somewhat of a challenge to explain. I tried to go into the world with no preconceived ideas of what I want to do. So when I get on my motorcycle with my camera and I go for a ride, I'm not looking for something. I try to clear out of my brain all the landscapes or portraits that I've seen or whatever, and try to come up on these things on my own. Because once I see something, then the gates open up and all that influence comes into my life, to my brain, and my eye, and I start to see things that way. But I believe there are photographs all around us all the time, and we just don't see them because we have a preconceived notion of what the photograph should look like. I think somebody who embodies the same spirit would be like Jay Mizell. Are you familiar with Jay Mizell?
No.
Jay Mizell is a New York photographer, an old timer, been around a long, long time. But Jay is the kind of guy that you could stand him in the middle of a street in an average town where we would stand and go, yeah, there's nothing here to photograph. And Jay would come back with 4 or 5 masterpieces.
Wow. Because
he allows those photographs to come to him rather than trying to seek them out. Because when we're seeking them out, we are we are pre-qualifying what's around us as to whether it would be a good photograph or not. Gary Winogrand was a street photographer in New York who photographed about, I guess he would do 10 to 20 rolls of film a day. And then he would wait a year to process that film because he didn't want to remember any of the photographs he had taken when he saw them again as a negative. But he photographed everything. If you can imagine shooting 20 rolls of film a day, he photographed shadows and whatever. And they asked him, so why do you take pictures, so many pictures of different things? And he said, I photographed the world to see what the world looks like as a photograph.
Wow.
That's the sort of the mantra that I have. I just want to see what it looks like in 2 dimensions.
Isn't it? Don't you find, like, I hear you speak. I hear you. When you said the story that, just a story you just said. To be a photographer, to be an artist, to be a writer, to be a singer, to be a creator in all, it's about seeing the world through the eyes of a child. Don't you find that?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. It's amazing. I've raised 3 daughters and I'm going to be a grandpa here in March. That'll be fun. But it's amazing when you walk around with children and talk to them about what they see. They see things that, and they're seeing it for the first time. They're seeing that multicolored play structure for the first time. It's wow. We're going, it's a thing that's over in the it's in the yard of the park. We see it all the time. We're bored. We become jaded with the world, and the young children, they're not jaded yet.
No, yeah.
We need to find a way to pull ourselves back from being so jaded that we censor our work before we ever take the photograph. We think, oh, well, my Flickr group won't like that shot. Oh, that shot won't get me very many likes on Facebook. Kids don't care.
No.
They just see it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, just before continuing this conversation, for you, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. I personally recommend the audiobook The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, or you can choose the audiobook of your choice for free by trying audible.com. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/Fred. Again, that's audibletrial.com/Fred. You will be entertained, and at the same time, you will help a brother out. So, everybody wins. Go to audibletrial.com/Fred for your free audiobook. Do you have a name for your creative genius?
Do I have a name for my creative?
Yeah, some people give their name give a name to their creative genius. Okay, no? I'm going to elaborate the question. I listened to a conference recently back in 2008 by Elizabeth Gilbert, and she was saying how back in the day the Greeks and all that, when somebody put out a great piece of art like a sculpture or something, the people, they knew they had a creative genius. Like, it wasn't the individual, it was the genius, and they had like different names. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, like a muse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I never have. I've had several muses in my life. Music is a muse to me. Mm-hmm. I see pictures when I listen to music. How weird is that?
I think I see pictures also. But yeah.
Yeah. But no, I haven't named it. I haven't.
All right. You mentioned something very interesting. You said our creativity is often jaded. It's dampened by. Why are people so fearful of going into a creative career, whatever that art is? Let's take photography. Let's take photography for.
Well, I think the number one fear of people doing it is that they will fail. And what I try to tell folks is, well, yes, you will. You should. You must fail. You can't win if you don't fail. So the failure that we see in people today has been exacerbated so much. There's so much more of it now that my wife used to teach high school and still does substituting. To get a kid off the floor to do a dance move, she teaches dance. The kid said, well, I can't do it. And my wife said, well, of course you can't do it. I'm teaching you how to do it. They don't want to do it because they'll fail at it. They don't even want to try. And I say they as the majority. There's always those who go, I'll try that. I'll give it a go. But we have taken as a society and most of the Western world, we have taken the idea that you will fail and made it this horrendous, terrible, ghastly, ugly thing. We have to go to college. If you don't go to college, you'll fail at life. If you don't
that's a big one. That's a big one. But
yes,
go ahead.
And I tell people, if you go to college, you're crazy right now.
Why is that?
Because it's too expensive. It's a rip-off. There's no way anyone can tell me that you went to high school one year and the average amount of money spent on the state for a high school student is about $6,500. Okay. You got a $6,500 education, and then the next year you go into this university and it's a $30,000 a year education. You want to go, really? There's no possible way it could cost that much. So it's simply a transference of the wealth from the lower and middle class to banks, and it's a sham, and we should stop it. If you have to have a degree to have the job, like a doctor or an architect, you're going to be an architect. Yes, you have to. Unfortunately, you have to go and do those things because you must have the degree. But if you're going to be an artist or a writer, oh my God, what could you do with $140,000 as a writer? Instead of paying back a school somewhere that basically just gave you enough information that would cover about spending a month on Google. For an entire 4 years, you could get it all in about a month on Google. And that's insane. It traps artists in a very terrible space because now remember, Frederick, what art are you mostly into?
Writing.
Okay. How many manuscripts have been submitted, do you think, and a publisher looks at it and goes, oh my God, this is a great book. But before we can even approach him, does he have a degree? None. Zero. No. I'm a photographer. No art director's ever gone, well, this is a pretty good portfolio, but we only hire master's students. It's not needed. So now you have somebody who owes $100,000. They have to start paying that back, competing with somebody who doesn't owe a nickel. And I'll tell you who generally wins, unless you've got a trust fund, are the people who can scrape by and, get it done. Because if you're middle class and you're paying $800 a month on a student loan, you're not getting anything for that. It's just money that goes out. You're not recouping, investing or whatever. You already spent that 4 years ago, or in many cases, 15 years ago, and you're competing with a guy who doesn't owe anything. So, yeah.
Big point here. You mentioned failure as the biggest fear. A lot of creative people, the other main fear, in my opinion, is money. So we talk about money. Oh, absolutely. That's the biggest part of the fear. They think, oh, I'll be destitute. And you know what I tell them? No, you won't. That's not you. It's not you. Are there cases of people where they've hit hard times? Yes. But what happens to those people when they're creative people?
You go get a job at McDonald's or whatever, and you work your way out of it and you keep creating. Being a failure, owning a home in the suburbs and a new Volvo should not be our measure of success. If that is your measure of success, then maybe you need to reevaluate that vision of being an artist, because you can be an artist and have a Volvo and live in the suburbs, but you're not going to do it day one. You're not going to leave school or go out on your own and go, wow, I just opened my studio. I don't have any clients. I better go start looking for a 3-bedroom home in, Albany or something. That just doesn't happen. And yet we have convinced so many artists that, oh, you have to have all this money and you have to have a house and you have to have a car and you have to dress this way. No, we don't. No, we don't. My wife and I lived in apartments, and my wife's a dancer, so she's an artist too. We lived in apartments. We lived in small places. We lived in a studio. We had a studio with living arrangements in it for 3 years. We didn't have kids, of course, but we did that. It's what you had to do to build that art up. And today, it's so rare to find somebody who's willing to do that. But when I do meet people, Frederick, who are willing to do that, they're usually doing it.
Yeah. It goes down to, I think, this idea that the artists, because we only see the successful artists as millionaires and they're living in these mansions and all of that. So that becomes our measure of success, as you said. And this is my take on it. Wouldn't you like to make, even if you make $50,000 a year, you're paying your bills. Wouldn't you like to make $50,000 doing your art instead of, just doing, working in corporate America?
Yeah, that's my point all the time. Is I talk to people who want to be artists, and
you don't have to make $1 million.
Don't tell me how much money you make, but if you could make $75,000 as a photographer, would you do? Oh yeah, why don't you do it? Well, I'm afraid, because I've got this job that sucks the soul out of me every time I go into my cube, and it's paying me $65,000, and I've got health insurance. Yeah. And I go, I totally get it. Do you have a new car? Yes. Sell it and get a junker. Then you can put $500 a month away. Do you live in a big house? Yeah. Sell it, get an apartment. There's another $1,000 a month you can put away or more, right? Yep. At the end of a year and a half of that soul-sucking job, you got about $25,000 saved up, and you can go and make a difference.
Absolutely.
You can do it, because making $75,000 as an artist is not. I know you're going to get letters, by the way, and send all the letters to Frederick, not me. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. Making $1 million is always hard. Making $75,000 a year as an artist today with the internet, it's not that hard. But what are you willing to sacrifice for it? That's the number one question. So people say, what's your number one question is, what do you want really bad? And I say, no, your number one question is, what am I willing to give up? Because you're going to have to give it up. That's what, how much pain are you willing to take? That's my number one question. Because you're a writer. You're not in any better position than photographers.
Yeah.
If we were code writers, we'd have a different world. But you're right. It's a tough business. You had to give up something, Frederick, to get to the point where you are. You had to.
Absolutely.
I
was a financial advisor. Ugh. Just the name of anyway. No, we're not going to go into that. But, all right. So this is very, very refreshing. Wow. This is very refreshing. Thanks for your insight. This is Frederic Bay, and you are listening to Creative Magic Unchained. We're here with Don Giannatti, photographer, designer, creative director, musician, composer. How do you deal with rejection?
I drink heavily. It's an interesting thing. You've heard the numbers. I know writers have these numbers going around. It takes 10. You send a manuscript out 10 times to get a yes, right? You've heard those numbers, right? 10 interviews to get somebody interested, that type of thing. Okay, so what is rejection? We take rejection, we go, oh, they didn't want me. What if you flipped the script and said, oh, they rejected me. I'm one closer. I'm one closer to a yes. I want to go out today and get 9 people to say no because tomorrow I get a yes. What if we flip the script? Then rejection isn't bad anymore. I remember this guy I went to college with. He would leave the bar every single night with a different girl. He wasn't terribly good looking. He wasn't terribly an interesting guy. But he would leave the bar every night he went with a different girl. And I asked him how he did it. And he just basically walked around from girl to girl and propositioned them. Hey, you want to go back to my place? Hey, you want to go back to my place? And no. He said, if I do it enough time, I'm going to get a yes. And I've always remembered that, where I would, if I approached a girl in a bar and she said no, it was like pretty much tail between the legs. I'm out in the car, going, well, nobody likes me. He took it as I'm one no closer to a yes. And that's how artists should treat it. We are one more closer, one more no, one more rejection closer to being accepted. Instead of quitting when we get the first rejection, it should inspire us to get more, because it's a numbers game, Frederick. It is a numbers game. You have to, what's the old saying? You have to kiss a lot of frogs. You have to get a lot of no's to get to that yes. The people who quit with no's never get a yes. It's that simple.
Have you heard the story of 7-Up?
7-Up?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so it's I don't know if it's really true, but Donald Trump always talks about that. Never heard it. Okay, so basically, I'll say it in 20 seconds. Basically, guy come up and says, okay, I'm gonna start a company, I'm gonna call it First Up. Went bankrupt. Then he tries again. He's gonna call it Second Up. Then fails. Third Up fails. 4 Up fails. 5 Up fails. 6 Up fails. Then he quits. Then another guy comes in and he says, I'm gonna call it 7 Up. And boom, boom,
yep.
Took off. And it is what it is today.
Yep. I love the story of Colonel Sanders, the fried chicken guy.
Yeah.
He got something like, it was outrageous. I want to say 10,000 no's or something like that. Maybe it wasn't that much. It was like a year and a half he was on the road getting no, told no. And finally he had a restaurant right here in Tempe, Arizona, said, okay, we'll try it. And look what happened. Can you imagine how many people do you know, and we won't talk names, how many people do you know would go a year and a half being rejected?
Man, I don't think I know anybody.
It would be a real small list, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was a small list, yeah.
And yet, how many people who were 64 years old when they started their business and became a billionaire do we know? Probably the same short list. Yeah. There's got to be a correlation between that work ethic and that ability to be rejected. There has to be a correlation between that and success. And Colonel Sanders, he knew he had a hit. He had to believe he had a hit, or he would have never gone that long. He knew in his heart of hearts that if somebody said yes, he would do well. And he did. He did very well.
Same with the lady who did Spanx. I forgot her name, but anyway, people can look it up. It's easy to find.
The lady who has Mary Kay.
No, it's not Mary Kay.
No,
but yeah, Mary Kay is one of them.
Yeah, Mary Kay is another one who just persevered. There's a movie out now about a woman named Joy something, entrepreneur and billionaire woman who's holds all these patents, and her story is quite fascinating as well. She had to overcome an awful lot, but she did. And all along the trail, we have chances to bail out. We have, it's getting really hard. Here's a chance to bail. And if you don't bail, you get to the top of the mountain. It's just bottom of the line is if you don't bail, you get to the top. And we all have a tendency to bail. I put myself in there too. I'm not hoping anybody's out there thinking, wow, Don lives this. No, Don tries, but it's tough to do. So
what do you do when you're blocked and nothing comes to you?
God, I wish I know, because I'm so blocked right now. Well, I'll go to art museums. That's one thing that I'll do, and go and look at all kinds of art. I'll try to do something different photographically. So instead of grabbing my digital cameras, I might take a large format film camera out and just sort of change it up somehow. Recently decided I wanted to ride a motorcycle again, and since my kids are all grown, my wife said okay, and so I have a motorcycle that I go out on the weekends, go around the Southwest and see if I can find pictures and just try to break the routine. Whatever routine you're in, break it. That's my advice.
Don't you find that, to me, blocking is a signal? Okay, step back for a second.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Don't panic. I think certain people panic because they have deadlines, maybe, they have but I think it's a signal from the universe, from your muse or whatever. Okay, just step back a minute. So.
Yes. And if you don't get that message, sometimes I wonder if you're never getting that message. And I'm not talking commercially, because commercially, when you're a commercial photographer or writer, you might be blocked, but you still get it done, right?
Yeah. You have to, right?
Yeah. It's the stuff comes to you. It's called you need to eat. But in the art world, I did a lot of assignments last year, but for myself, I took very few photographs. As a matter of fact, it was probably my worst year for personal work ever. And I have some medical issues that raise their ugly head a little bit, but that's not an excuse. But it was a very tough year. And this year, I have committed to making something every day and shipping something every week. In other words, shipping means finished, finished something. And I'm so far I'm on goal. I've been working on a little project this week, and it'll be finished tomorrow, so that my first week in January is taken care of. And forcing myself to do that with the same kind of gusto as we mentioned as almost a religion. And it's a religious practice. I have to do this. And people have asked me in the past why I make photographs, and the only honest answer I've ever given is because I have to.
I was going to ask you that question.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's amazing. I just have to. And being, watching my cameras sit in bags here for pretty much August, September, October, November was painful for me. But I had lost, I really had lost the mojo. I didn't know what I wanted to photograph, and I didn't want to just go out and photograph nothing. And I had to work myself through the idea that the photographs are there. I'm just not seeing them. What's wrong with me that I'm not seeing them? What's happening that they're not revealing themselves to me like they used to? Mm-hmm. But it's been a very good last 2 weeks of December, and January has been pretty good. So I feel like I'm moving on. I don't feel like I'm totally unblocked yet, Frederick, but I feel like I've got a handle on getting there.
Okay. Awesome. Wow. All right. If someone is 30 years old right now, they have a day job, they want to write, they want to be a photographer, whatever the passion is, but they're hesitant. They're fearful. They're what am I going to do for money? What am I going to do? I have a mortgage, or I have children. What is the number one advice you would give them? Don't
rush it. Don't think that it's 100% this way or 100% that way. I do a thing called Project 52, which I think you know about. And lots of the people in Project 52 are working people. And in the past 4 years, we've put out about 30 full-time photographers. That's I'm pretty proud of that number. People who were doing other jobs and became full-time photographers. Only in the case of maybe 4 or 5 was it an immediate thing, and usually that immediate thing came in the form of a pink slip, or Eric went to work one Thursday morning and the gates were locked and the boss was there saying, I've sold the business, you're out of a job. So he said, well, maybe this is a message that I need to try this. And within, a few months, he's making it. And Eric's doing very well. Steven did the same thing happen. He got a pink slip from the military. He got a little bit of a severance pay. He was a contractor, severance pay. And he called me and said, what am I doing? He's going to be a photographer. He says, I don't know, I'm not ready. I said, no, you're not ready. You're not even close to ready. But, what else are you going to do?
Yeah, just step into it.
Yeah, you either step into it and take the amount of knowledge you have, and now you've got all day to work on it. You're going to get so much better in a month by working on it all day than you were working on it 3 or 4 hours a week, that it's going to change your life. Or you can step back into another job that will hold you back from doing that for the next, 10 years. Now, both of those guys are, Eric, I want to say mid-40s, Steve, early 50s, not spring chicken. Mm-hmm. It is harder, Frederick, if you have children, and there's no way around that. There's no way around it.
Mm-hmm. But they can make it.
Absolutely. You can make it work, especially with, health insurance. Now you can get health insurance without having to have a whole lot of money. But you got to have health insurance for your kids. I'm a stickler for that. Your kids, I really am. I heard a photographer once say he went 5 years without health insurance for his kids. And I'm like, well, you were lucky. Good for you. Just takes one broken arm and you're bankrupt. You're done.
Wow.
So, be very, very careful when you're doing it, but you can do it. You can move in slowly. Whether it's commercial or consumer photography, you can make that switch to where you're making, let's say you have a $65,000 a year job and you're making about 30 as a photographer. Okay. Now, hopefully you've saved some of that money and not gone out and buy yet another lens or another flash or another, you got a carload of crap that you're carrying around that's all of your capital, but you've saved some money. Yeah. Okay. 30,000. That's a pretty good base. You're going to have to eat mac and cheese. My wife and I know 50 different ways to cook mac and cheese. You're going to eat mac and cheese and top ramen for a while, but you'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, we're going to wrap this up. If you're stuck on an island, you have no one else, with $500 in your pocket, a laptop, what would you do the next 7 days?
Okay, I'm stuck on an island. I got 500. What? Can I spend that money?
Of course you can spend that money, and you have internet.
I would start a website. I don't know what it would be right at this moment. I'd have to do some research, but I'd start a website. If I was going to be transferring from a middle class job to being a photographer, I'd start a website. If I was going to be a writer, I'd start a website. There's money to be made on the internet. Don't let anybody tell you that there's not, but also don't let anybody tell you, yep, start a website, you'll make $1 million. No, you won't, but you don't need to. You only need to make a couple of $1,000s a month to get that base, right? Start a website. I'm on an island. I'm going to start an island cruise website. I'm going to start an island information website. I'm going to get a Amazon affiliate. I'm going to grab other affiliates that I could do, and I'm going to concentrate on writing and photographing the island. I've got a good friend down in Costa Rica. Is it Costa Rica? No, it's not Costa Rica. Somewhere down in Central America. I'm forgetting the name. And his name Rudy Giron. And Rudy wanted to be a photographer, so he started photographing his little town. Guatemala. He's in Guatemala. He's in the capital of Guatemala, which is a beautiful little city at the base of a volcano. And so every day he would walk around with his camera and take pictures of the market and whatever until he developed the City of Guatemala website that he runs. And he's making a living off this.
Wow.
From advertising and stuff. Did it happen overnight? No, it didn't. But with $500 and a laptop, I'm going to start a business online. Absolutely.
You can do a bunch of things.
Sure.
And the reason I'm asking that question...
I know a guy who runs a podcast.
Well, you know what? The reason I'm asking that question is because it's just to tell the people you can start anywhere.
Anywhere.
And you can start right now.
Yes.
Yes.
If you're creative, and I believe with you, everybody is, what we need to do is to knock the fog away from their ability to see that. I mean, they'll say, oh, I'm an accountant, I'm not creative. Hey, if you're a good accountant, you are. I mean, just being an accountant is a creative process.
Yeah.
It is. And it may be different than painting, but it's still firing the same synapses. You just have to go out there and put it out there and be willing to fail, be willing to give up something, and see where it goes, but never be held back by anything. Just can't be.
Where can we find you? And I have access to your services.
Don Giannatti, dongiannatti.com. Just my name, DONGIANNATTI.com. My website that I do the photography on is lighting-essentials.com. And that's where you'll find me. Awesome. That's where I'm hanging out.
Man.
Links to my photo website and stuff like that.
Sorry?
And there are links to my photography website and stuff like that.
Awesome. Well, you know what? I feel I can talk to you for another 2 hours. This is awesome. I think, man, thank you for your insight. Thank you for you're very motivating and you're very, very inspiring. I'm 100% in sync with what you just said.
Wonderful. I'm very honored that you contacted me to do this, Frederick.
Oh, I am honored to interview you. Thank you again, Don, and man, good luck in your future, brother.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right, guys. How was that? How was that interview? How was that? Are you inspired? Are you fired up? Get out there and start what you need to start right now. I don't want to hear another word. I don't want to hear, well, I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't have this. No. Get out there and do it. No matter how small it is, just do it. Hey, thanks to Don Giannatti. He was, thanks for his inspiration, his uplifting, feeling. I mean, his uplifting attitude. He's really an inspiring person. So, go check him out. Google Don Giannatti. You can find a bunch of stuff. And you can also get his book. Check out onfrederickby.com, the page /Don Giannatti. Search Don Giannatti on frederickby.com. You're gonna have his page, you're gonna have his books, all the links, all the episodes. So my hat's off to him. And as for me, well, it's time to ride off into the sunset. Catch me on Facebook, Frederick By, on Twitter @ByFred, my YouTube channel, Creative Magic. And with this, I want to say to you, don't forget, stay safe and live with purpose, passion, and love. Bye-bye.